pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, ladies. Roll call, Ms. Willis.
Mr. Eric.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Francis.
Gerald, they call.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Littleton.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Morgan.
Yes.
Mrs. Craigstoken.
Yes.
Mr. Umstead.
Yes.
Mr. Wisdom.
Yes.
25-244, CMS situational update. This is for information. Superintendent Halter.
And Chairman Littleton and members of the board, we have an informational update for you regarding the situation at Covington Middle School that we'd like to begin this evening with. I'm just kind of doing a sound check in this moment. If someone cannot hear me, please let me know.
There's so much reverb.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So on behalf of our team, Melinda and I get to speak tonight in a little more of a voice of we this time. We get to share with you some good news from our team and some of the hard work that's been going on to help in following up and managing this situation. So we're going to work together tonight to bring you an initial update on the Covington Middle School situation from January 31st. And that's going to be followed by several members of our team who has some information for you that you may have already seen. We respect that, but we want to make sure that everyone has. So my portion of this update is to again open with thanks for helping, for folks who have been able to be able any kind of assistance to us. We really appreciate that, and we appreciate everyone's patience with the whole situation. We appreciate the information you've shared with us, and that's been very useful to our team. We've been excited to have been able to work with a fine group of all sorts of responders and agencies that have assisted us, and we really appreciate everyone's patience with this process and as well as that support, and we want to make sure we say that very clearly tonight. We also want to make sure that everyone is aware of resources that are on our website and the purpose of those resources being on our website. We have lots of information on the AHPS website at this time, and I'm going to call out that address just in case anyone is unfamiliar. It is AHPS, like Allegheny Highlands Public Schools, .k12.va.us. And like many websites in education, there's a lot of information at that website, and we understand that sometimes that makes it challenging to find a certain item you might be looking for. So we want to highlight a few things that might be of immediate assistance, and then make sure you know that you can reach out to our central office during regular hours, and we'll be happy to try to help you find something if you're looking for something, and for whatever reason, it's more difficult to find. So we want to make sure you know that we have a frequently asked questions page on that website. It's under the important information section on the main page. You'll find a statement there from the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, as well as some additional information from the Virginia Department of Health, and a variety of information about different supports and services available to our students through our continuity of learning plan. That's basically what's allowing us to work virtually during this time so that students are able to continue their studies. Now, importantly, in all of that information, we want to make sure that we share that we have been absolutely appreciative of the concern raised to us about whether that came to us about concern about an odor, or concern about carbon monoxide, or concern about carboxyhemoglobin, which is a substance that we find in blood, and that's a lot of different things. And we're really appreciative that people brought that information to us, and we're really appreciative, again, of the expert help that we've had in making sure we understand the situation as well as we can. So with that, I would like to turn this part of the presentation over, Mr. Chairman, to Ms. Sneed Johnson. She's going to be bringing forward a little bit more information, and then we have multiple members of our team that will follow behind that. Just to assist the public again tonight and assist you all. We want to make sure again that we say loudly and clearly how thankful we are to live in a community where people are able to pull together, and we really appreciate everyone's help.
Good evening, Chairman Littleton, board members, Superintendent Halterman. I'd just like to reiterate a few words that Mrs. Halterman has shared with everyone. I may sound like a broken record, but I do think it's important to continue to go over all the many things that are happening right now. She has shared about the many resources that can be found on our AHPS website. We certainly appreciate the many experts who have given their time to continue to provide us their expertise so graciously. The VDH team, the VDM team, the poison control experts, local emergency response teams have been so valuable to our continued response. We have a great team here at AHPS who are working diligently to continue our efforts. Our instructional teams who are working behind the scenes each and every day to provide instruction to our CMS virtual students. We will hear soon from our instructional leader. I would like to commend our maintenance and custodial team for the efforts made whenever we need to explore another avenue. They continue to explore everything that they think is vital to our response. We'd also like to have you continue to provide information to our AHPS info email. As you see things that you wish for us to know, please continue to use that avenue to provide us more information. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for their continued patience as we continue to look and respond as we should appropriately. So there are many others who are going to follow me. We're going to hear from our maintenance and transportation director. We're going to hear from our HR director and Mr. Ross, our secondary instructional director. So with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn it over to our maintenance and transportation director, Mr. Shane Reed, who will come down and say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Board members, superintendent, assistant superintendent, I'd like to thank our maintenance department for the hard work that they've done throughout the past couple of weeks. And they've worked really hard working through this school, and they've done everything that was asked of them. So I'd like to thank them for that. And while we're talking about the maintenance department and transportation, I would like to shout out to transportation because they work really hard trying to keep these buses on the road, and their mechanics work on relentlessly. So thank you. Mr. Ball.
Good evening, Chairman Littleton, school board members, Superintendent Halterman, and Ms. Sneed Johnson. Just briefly talk about some support we've offered to our staff from the HR standpoint here this evening. Beyond the resources that you've already heard that have been broadly communicated to the community, including, of course, our staff, I'd let you know we've had 2 virtual meetings with our middle school staff. One was on February 5th, which was a planning, predominantly related to planning and preparation for the instruction that has now engaged virtually. We also had a meeting the following week with our staff, including the Virginia Department of Health, where staff were able to ask questions of the Department of Health and Dr. Morrow, who was on that call. During this time, we've also made our staff alert to EAP, Employee Assistance Program services. Also encouraged all staff who sought any type of medical consultations to follow up with our company nurse tracking program, and we've had several who have done so. And finally, myself and other administrators, other staff, have also had some follow-up individual phone calls with particular staff members over the last several weeks since the 31st. So I just want to give you an update from the HR perspective with our staff. All right?
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Ross. Thank you, sir.
Chairman Littleton, superintendents, and school board members, just a quick update. First of all the information is on the website in various places. Our students right now, until they can get back into the building, are virtual. They're supposed to log into each class, each block. The teachers should be there. They go in through Canvas, and then there's a Google Meet with their teacher during that class period. And in various situations, it depends on if the teacher's got to be out or something, then there's some other arrangements that happen within that point. Other than that, because we missed so many days, the middle school students, when other students are out, the plan is for them to continue learning. They'll go on a 2-hour delay schedule on those days, but we got to make up some time. They missed a whole week while others were still in class. We're trying to get as much instruction in as we can, the best way we can, dealing with the situation we have at hand. But once everything's good to go, the plan is for everybody to be back in the building, back in classes, doing what they need to do.
I had a question about the rest of the school system and missing days with the weather that's pending. Is there any idea that they might be able to do some more while they're at home?
We actually, last week's, all the schools were virtual except for Friday. CMS was the only school that was virtual on Friday. We're planning for the next, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday possibly. So we're looking at having to be able to go virtual for all the schools for the end of the week. Hopefully we won't have to, but if that's the case, we're ready to go. Ms. Hawkins, do you have anything else? Well, do y'all have any more questions first?
Thank you, Mr. Ross. We have again. Change the weather.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone. And as I was looking through my notes this evening, I wanted to make sure I highlighted one more resource that's available to anyone at any time. And that's the Blue Ridge Poison Center, which we commonly call poison control. I mean, I grew up calling that organization poison control. And what is really great about that center that I'm reminded of in this situation is you can call them 24/7, 365 with any form of concern you might have that relates back to anything. It could be a snake or spider bite. It could be some concern of this nature. It could be a concern of a different nature. And they're a really fabulous resource they are confidential, they are free, and they are able to provide specific advisement to an individual specific situation. And that's a really good resource to know about. I know that I've had several occasions professionally to call them and simply request additional information about a topic. So you do not have to be having an active emergency to call them. You can call them and request information, and that's a really amazing thing to be able to do and to be talking to an expert. So we know that that's in a lot of our communications, and we know that probably everyone here has heard that or seen that, but it's a really helpful resource, and we don't want to miss that mistake.
Thank you, Superintendent. On to
Yeah, I should have your question, I guess. I too would like to thank everyone for all the hard work that's going on. I'm wondering when we might have like a situational update as far as what transpired, what we need to fix it, those kind of details. I think that's what the community is interested in. Rightfully so. But is there any type of prediction on time frame for that?
That's a question for me, correct? Yeah, no problem. I was just making sure I was clear. I really wish there was a really specific answer I could give to your question, but I'm afraid it would be unfair to the ongoing collection of information, right? Because that is very important at this time and something that the board's real active in. And I know that, and I know that you know that as well, and I understand that as well. But I also hear your heart in wanting those additional details, and I'm afraid they're just not complete at this time. Does that follow?
It does. I mean, it's with my heart, it's kind of disappointing, but yes, I understand what you're saying. It's 17 days. Okay.
On to accommodations and awards, 25-241 spelling bee winners. Mr. Callahan. Ms. Hansford, thank you.
Superintendent Halterman, Ms. Lee Johnson, board members, I'm here to present this award to Bella Craft, our 2025 Spelling Bee winner from Callahan Elementary School. And I can't say how proud I am of this young lady for being our Spelling Bee champion. So, congratulations.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce the Covington Middle School winners from the Spelling Bee. Sixth grade champion for Covington Middle School, as well as the division's runner-up, Ms. Penelope Thompson. Our seventh grade winner is Mr. Carson Bogan. And our eighth grade winner, as well as the division winner, is Miss Emily Gadd for the second year in a row. Thank you.
I'm here tonight to recognize our Watson Elementary School winner for this year. Her name is Isabella Daniel. However, she is not able to be with us. She is in her championship basketball game, and she plays for the rec department, and so she's participating in that tonight. Thank you.
Chairman Littleton, board member, superintendent. I'd like to introduce the Mountain View winner for our spelling bee, which is Erin Sawyer.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce our spelling bee winner this year was Crew F. I don't think Crew is here tonight. We had an interesting situation occur where Crew wasn't able to participate in the direct spelling bee, so his alternate champion would be Jonathan Mosier.
One more. Congratulations on spelling bee winners. On to our next item, 25-246, instructional spotlight.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Alex Brigham and Caitlin Pachero. They're going to talk a little bit about our math program and data science and go into some of the things we've done this year to kind of revamp the data and some of the things there. So, Mr. Brigham and Mr. Pachero.
All right, good evening, folks. You should have it's a little more than a half sheet of paper that I set there. So yeah, Mr. Cantrell asked me to, for this instructional spotlight, kind of share some of what I've been doing with data science, but also some of what our department's been doing a little bit differently this year. And so to kind of kick that off, I've got on that sheet for you just kind of a basic definition that we work with from data science. And that says to gain knowledge by separating out facts and information. So with the data science course, I kind of take a critical thinking and a statistics approach to teaching these kids. Because here's the thing, you look at that definition and it says separating out facts and information. You guys know it as well as the kids do. We're inundated with information every day. So something that I kind of lead with these kids is, okay, it's one thing to have information, it's another thing to be able to sift through, to process it and say, okay, what does this mean? The high school version of what I say with this is, okay, you're presented these things scrolling through Facebook, whatever, yada, yada. What's fact, what's crap, right? So that's kind of some of what I lead with the data science class. Now, there's some topics listed there. So with that critical thinking and that statistics approach, we're tackling topics such as budgeting, credit and debt, saving, consumer awareness, college and career readiness, financial services, insurance, taxes, all those things. So to kind of illustrate an activity that I do, and I do this with Candy with the kids. You guys, I'm sorry, I have to set up on a piece of paper. So on those sheets, there was a highlight color that I put at the top of that, and I've got 4 of them down here that are yellow. But just to give these kids an idea of statistics and just some of the conversations that this data opens up for us. Who's got that blue highlight on the top of their paper? Mr. Eric, congratulations. You are part of what's called the Millionaire Club. That is 4%, yeah, right? That is 4% of Americans are in the Millionaire Club, which means their net worth is $1 million more. So we talk about that. The next is green. So who's got a green highlight on the top? Should be 1, 2, 3 of you. Okay. That is the debt-free and living large club. So not quite $1 million net worth, but this is 20% of Americans are in this group where they don't have debt, things like that to their name. They're building towards savings, retirement. The biggest chunk, and I've got 4 of them down here, 3 or 4 of them here, is what's called the normal. Who's got the yellow highlight, the regular yellow? So there's 3 there, I've got 4 more. This is 70% of Americans are in the category where they have some form of debt. Probably mostly living paycheck to paycheck, not a lot of margin for savings. So that's 70% of Americans. The next, and there's one of each of these, the orange crew. Orange highlight, I apologize. This is the struggle bus crew. This is 4% of Americans, but these are Americans, they're living paycheck to paycheck, probably behind on a payment or 2. Broken busted is the other side of it. And then the last crew is the pink, favorite category, probably on that, and I picked the right guy for that one, didn't I? I knocked this thing down and I don't know what to do with it.
Jerry, get your things.
Thank you. Good. Okay. So that is 1% of Americans, and this is the group that is bankrupt. So 1% of Americans fall in that category. So obviously none of this, hopefully applies, or maybe does in some of your cases to you, but we do an activity like this and we just talk about a couple things. Okay, number one, what does that tell you about Americans and finances and things like that? So we're looking at the statistics, but we're stopping for a minute and thinking about what does this tell me? And a big thing we say in this class is if 71%, 70% of Americans have some form of debt, debt is normal, be weird, right? So we kind of talk through and use some of those things as really what I would say the statistics, the critical thinking applied to an area that is going to hit home for all these kids, especially juniors, seniors. Man, this is the finances that you're going to need to know a little bit about for what's right on the event horizon. So speaking of students, and with this, last, what day is it? Fall, right? Fall semester was the first time I had the opportunity to teach this. So Mr. Cantrell asked, are there any students that you think would be a good face to that or be able to share from you guys? Because I know you guys like hearing more from students than us, rightfully so. But I've got Ms. Caitlin Petrero here. She's got some words that she wants to share, but let me just brag on her for a minute. She is, as of today, the only student who has earned an A in this data science class. Working with her and getting to know her last semester, it's really been a joy, and I would say students like her are reasons that we get into education teaching. Not just because she got an A in class, but because she applied herself to material, and she applied herself to what we're talking about, and she didn't let just go in one ear and out the other. She took it to heart, and the things she was able to contribute and add to our class, the discussion, the conversation, and all that thing, really just kind of led me to say, well, she's probably the one. And the reason that I was kind of like, is this girl graduated a semester early from our high school. So she met all of her requirements to graduate. I mean, currently right now she's on the clock at work because she's taking time out of her day to do this. So, Kate, why don't you come on up and just share what you've got to say, and we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. Thank you all for welcoming me tonight. I just want to start off with saying Mr. Brigham is an excellent teacher, honestly, and I am honored to be asked here tonight to participate in this. Shortly into the class, I realized that it should probably be a core class. Throughout the years of high school, we go through math, science, English, and history, with the exception of government and econ and your regular classes. But at the end of the day, what prepared me for life was data and science. I wouldn't have known any of how to bank, how to do insurance, how to do investments, or resumes, or budget plans, or credit, or even debt, if it wasn't for data and science. Before I took data and science, I knew very little to nothing about any of it and these topics, but the class taught me all of that. And it really helped me to grow when I was able to step out into the world and understand this. I work a job, and when they ask you, what are your W-2s, or what do you want to claim? I didn't know any of that. And thanks to Mr. Brigham and data and science, I was able to go, alrighty, this is how you do it. Of course, there's econ and personal finance, but if I'm being honest, I took econ and personal finance online, and I don't know a single thing from that class. And it's just the in-class experience was something that you wouldn't have gotten online, that you wouldn't have really probably got by any other teacher. He was truly amazing. Data and science taught me how to pay cash for my first card, to save my money, to have no debt, to make a budget plan, set up interviews and know what to say. It taught me how to make my college resumes, know what to prepare for when I went there. And at the end of the day, my math, my science, my English, and my history all taught me things, but nothing compared to that. I am very thankful for data and science because I know what to do. And even more importantly, I have the confidence to make it in the world with that information that I was taught. Data and science has helped me prepare for the real problems that people face every single day. And because of that, I am grateful. At the end of the day, I just want to thank data and science for teaching me how I could make it through on my own. And I want to thank Mr. Brigham and Mr. Cantrell for giving this amazing opportunity to come speak tonight on behalf of my class. Thank you so much.
I had no idea what she was going to say, so it's kind of hit me as it's hit you guys. So, one thing I should be speaking that I thought about that's kind of been a cool part that is just that we have been able to partner with Jacksonville Credit Union. They came and poured into these kids and spoke with them, and Kathleen All and Adam Brookman down there, they're wonderful. But they came a couple of times and just, so it's kind of been that opportunity too. But kind of just maybe springboard off of her sharing that testimony, some of the backstory behind my desire to, and like she said, giving Mr. Cantrell credit where it's due, but my desire to offer this class, and I mean, you guys can think back to it. I mean, and as a math teacher, I get it a lot. When are we ever going to use this? Where in the world our average 9th grade Algebra 1 kid, are they going to use factoring a quadratic trinomial in their life? And I'm just curious, as I ask you guys to reflect and think about that, when have you ever learned or needed to factor a quadratic trinomial in anything? And I'm a math teacher, I get that, right? And I'm not saying that there aren't people and places and things that use that, but some of the awesome thing and the impact from this is we're able to, from a critical thinking and statistical standpoint, talk about some things that are, I don't have to sell the math because it sells itself because these kids, I'm going to need banking and this stuff. And that's kind of some of the backstory that's fueled me as an educator to get to a point where, like I said, Mr. Cantrell's given me the opportunity to teach this. Because one of the things that I want to do is just share out a few other things with the department that's going on, but to finish the data science piece of it, this is kind of some of where it came from for me, where we were going to use this, but we had and he's a good friend of mine now, we had a Mr. AHS here, I think he graduated in 2020, but Mr. Remington Price. And him and I are good buddies. I don't even think I actually ever had him in class, but he was in my homeroom. And he was one of those kids I just clicked with. And so he graduated from here, and he said, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Lexington. Can you just sit down with me and can we hammer out maybe some of the details, the questions that I have about it? And so we grabbed a pizza, we sat down for maybe 2 hours, and what did we do? Really all we did was work up a budget. And this is a guy who's done everything we've asked, tops of his class, Mr. AHS, and he says to me, why didn't anyone ever want me through this in high school? So it's things like that, to me as an educator, that they hit you right here. That here's a kid that we've asked to do this, 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 and this, and yet, and I don't know if this is going to make you laugh, hopefully that. I had him come and speak to a statistics class that I taught once, and they said, so, how well do you feel like high school prepares you for the real world? And the kids loved it, so I'm going to say this. He said it's like being taught how to drive a car and being told you're going to fly an airplane. And again, I'm an educator, that my job is to prepare these kids. And that kind of hits you. So anyway, I say all that to say, it's through the listening to these kids, it's through the seeing what these kids, need, and just having the gumption to just, like I said, I'm thankful to have administrators like Mr. Cantrell that say, okay, let's sit down and talk about this, but then let's go do it. So some of the other things that we've been able to offer as a department really kind of come from stories like that. So the second thing that we've been able to offer this year that's a little bit different, this is, to my knowledge, at least the first time in a while, we've been able to offer honors Algebra 1 and honors Geometry courses for our high school students. We've got honors English 9 and 10 and history and etc. Why don't we have an honors algebra? So we've been able to offer that and kind of give some of those kids a little bit more rigor, a little bit more challenge. But again, the story from that, for me, and this was a department effort, but for me, I'm teaching algebra last year. And I got this 9th grader, has done everything we've asked. Has met every mark, is doing fine. And she's in my 9th grade class with, unfortunately it happens, 9th grade regular algebra with some kids that this is their 3rd, 4th time in algebra 1. And so, those kids tend to not take education the most seriously, right? And they're goofing off and things like that. And just at some point in the semester, she comes to me and she looks at me and says, Mr. B, I'm sitting in this class and I'm wondering, what did I do wrong? And again, to talk about these conversations, these things that they kind of gut you, right? So I'm not saying the honors classes are a be-all, end-all, but it's something for me as an educator saying, look, we got to do something about this because we've got kids that have done everything we've asked them to do, and they're kind of collaterals into this. So we've offered that honors class to kind of give kids like this 9th grader I've got in mind from last year, okay, you have at least an option that you can take this so the kids that do need that repeat cycle, we can go at a pace in an honors class that we can't in a regular algebra class. So that's two, and I'm thrilled about that. I know Ms. Spangler and Ms. Massatelli have taught our honors geometry, and the consensus from them too is it really helps them because again, they can go at that different pace. And then the third and final thing is springboarding off of Ms. Spangler and Ms. Massatelli. What they've done for this year, looking into next year, is they've done some things to basically help our kids that are in the advanced algebra and trig, the pre-calc, calculus, upper level track. So for years we've had 2 classes. We've had advanced algebra and trig and pre-calc. And from both of them teaching it over the number of years, the standards for the classes from the DOE pretty much identical. They're very similar classes. So the kids are taking 2 separate classes, but for practical purposes, they're very similar. So they, reached out to folks at the governor's school at Dabney, Mountain Gateway, and said, okay, what can we do to kind of tweak this here to prepare those kids that are going to the governor's school program and doing these things? What would be best there? And again, what does it stem from? There's a need from a student, or in this case, for our students. They have a conversation, let's do something about it. So next year, we're going to start offering a trigonometry class and a pre-calc class that are 2 separate things that, like I said, they've worked over there with the Gov School folks to say, okay, these are 2 options that we can now give our kids that cover a little bit more different of a variety of a topic. So those are 3 big things that we've kind of been working on as a department here, and I'll just take a minute and brag on, I love working with this math department, and it's an honor to kind of speak on their behalf tonight. I did a brief stint and made the mistake of doing a brief stint in Roanoke for a year, and I ended right up back here. I partially believe that's because this is where I'm supposed to be, but the community that exists within our math department, really our second floor, with the science and math and the other teachers, it's second to none. And I would, like I said, I'll just brag for a minute and say, if you want to see some of Allegheny County's best work, I know it's going on all over the county. I really truly believe come see what's going on. Come talk to these science and math teachers and just the team and the group that we have there. The last thing I'd like to say, just considering all this, and I really believe this, my goodness is nothing apart from my Lord. And I'm talking about my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So I can stand here today and say that all of these things that I'm doing, that we're doing, are because that drive and that desire exists within me. My grandfather left me with a lasting image. He would just, anytime, like Mr. Cantrell giving me an opportunity to just talk about some of the great things we're doing. Anytime my grandfather, Pete did a great job, he would do one of these. And that's the lasting image that I have of my grandfather. And the reason that I mention that is because all of us, you guys here, us here, in the crowd, parents, students, we all want these kids to succeed. And I really and truly believe after about 10 years in education that the idea, the notion of success is connected to and married to honoring, knowing, and following what God has got for us. So I leave you with those thoughts tonight. Thank you for letting me be here. If there's anything I can do for you guys or questions you have for me, I'm more than happy to answer those. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rick. All right, we're going to move on into our consent agenda, and I'll say if you're here for a spelling bee or an instructional spotlight, if you'd like to leave, you're more than welcome to. We'd love to have you here, but we understand everyone has some busy lives and busy schedules. So on to 25-247 consent agenda. This is an action item. The minutes of the January 21st regular meeting. Review of the bills, which are sitting right here. Consider approval of AHS FCCLA students to Virginia Beach on 4-3 to 4-6. Consider approval of CMS band choir students to Richmond 5-9 to 5-10. Any questions, or I'll take a motion to approve?
I have a few questions about the bills, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
I was curious to the VSC Fire and Security Incorporation. Seemed like that was 4 different line items, and relatively large. Does anybody have the details behind what that was in January?
Mr. Woodson, I don't know you got notes here, but you have these questions beforehand, so we'll try to have answers for you.
I just thought that they would have.
Okay.
All right.
That's just hard to,
And we can't hear it, Bill.
You can't hear? Oh, okay. All right, yeah, I mean, I guess it's just what we want to do if we can.
it's just having such, we have a $47 million budget and trying to come in spending sometimes it's tough off the
Yeah, but the bids
fly.
for the month are like 30 months.
Okay. But I was saying if we know in advance, then we can make sure we have good answers for your questions.
Okay, we'll note that. Okay.
Any other questions? You wanna make a motion? You wanna make a motion?
I'll move for the approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Mr. Garrett, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Morgan. Roll call, please.
Mr. Enoch.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Franson. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Littleton.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Morgan.
Yes.
Mrs. Scruggs Duncan.
Yes.
Mr. Umstead.
He went to the restroom.
And Mr. Woodson.
No.
Okay. On to 25-248, informational items, cafeteria report, capital improvement, maintenance update, budget report, division of operation updates, and board development materials, health and safety, transport update, and instruction reminder of availability of PTAC resources. Is there questions from board members on any of these items? I know sometimes questions come up to us quickly, but at the same time too, if we know questions that we'll have in advance, if we could be pre-prepared for it, would be great, so that way the administration can have a good answer to our questions. All right, if there's no questions, we'll move on to 25-249, calendar information, March 3rd, budget work session. March 6th through 8th, spring break. March 17th, regular meeting. March to be determined or announced, joint budget work session. April 14th, regular meeting. April 17th, VSBA Hot Topic Conference. April 18th through 22nd, spring break, all school and offices closed. Now we'll go on to budget finance, 25-250, the 2025-26 budget update. This is for information.
Chairman Littleton and members of the board, I'll be speaking to that tonight. First, a big thank you to members of our budget committee, the board budget committee, and also, of course, to Ms. Persinger in our finance office and to her team for helping prepare what the information we have attached to your memo item today. And members of the public, is that little link there that you all just clicked will take you to that same presentation that the board members have in front of them. And it's not necessary unless the board would wish for me to do so, for me to go through this slide by slide this evening. And the reason I would say that is because this budget is built on basically preliminary information. So it is built on the governor's release of the budget, the anticipated state budget for the schools in December. And we don't yet have an additional update that allows us to better refine that budget and explain more about exact details of the budget. We will, though, before the end of March, we will have a meeting with Covington City Council and the Allegheny County Board of Supervisors and talk through the budget. That's part of our budget development process, as most people may already know. Our budget does prioritize the items already discussed as priorities. So those certainly include expenditures related to staff. That's been a place where we have just really wanted to commit to making sure that we keep our salaries as competitive as possible. So in our preliminary budget work, we've tried to do that. We've also, we're very pleased to tell you that we are currently only anticipating a 2 to 3% increase in the cost of our health insurance, which is pretty amazing. So we're hopeful that that information remains accurate and that will help us in our budget. Many organizations are facing a larger increase in the premium costs going into the next fiscal year. You'll also see that we're just continuing to try to honor the strategic plan goals, which certainly include keeping our students engaged, so we want to make sure that we keep all of our programs that we have going now and consider any additional options for our students as funds allow. So that is a very brief overview of where the budget stands at the moment. It is a $47 million budget, almost a $48 billion budget. And again, the reason that there aren't more specific details at this time just has to do with the timing of the way the information flows into the state. We're really operating on those priorities that we our North Star as we develop the budget. And we're happy to entertain questions, certainly.
Is there any questions from board members? Thank you, Superintendent Halterman. Move on to instructional reports and recommendations, 25-251, preliminary fall SOL scores. Mr. Callahan.
Evening, Superintendent, Board members, Chairman Littleton. Here's your numbers. Be happy to entertain any questions.
I can't see from here, Mr. Callahan.
Is that because of the screen?
Yeah, it's just hard to see.
It's just a little hard to see the lines.
We went up a little bit in reading, went up a lot in writing. The other three we had drops in. We still have a few retakes, rather kind of hurt us a little bit on that. I don't see a lot of significant increases, although they could go up slightly. They will not decrease. Typically, fall has been weaker than spring testing has been. So we look for these to go up. If you want any specific on secondary, I'm not your man. I'm elementary, but I'll be happy to try.
Remediation, so talking about the remediation plans, I'm curious, I think folks that are scheduled to retake the test in fall classes will take them towards the end of the spring.
If they can't get them in the fall, they can still take it in the spring.
So
we try to take them in the same semester they had in class. That's the best chance for success. And if they get close to graduating, then obviously we will work with them and the teacher to make sure they try and get over the hump. And that's scheduled on a one-to-one basis.
I was just curious, real world example, I was just taking geometry, and she was told she couldn't take it to the end of the spring. I'm trying to make that make sense.
I wish I could make that make sense. Does it sound sensible to me?
I'll check it. Okay, all right, thank you.
So Sherman, I know that we're not far enough into this to get any sort of trends for the school system we've created, but I'd be interested to see maybe on a graph where the scores have tracked over the last, say, 5 years, kind of see how we're falling in that. And I know the only way to do it is to go into both of the old school systems. And
it's not hard to do.
It's hard.
No, it's not.
Well, I'd like to be able to see.
I would like to throw this year out right now.
To see how we're tracking.
Because honestly, we have missed way too much instructional time to be effective right now.
I didn't hear that part.
You probably don't want to.
There's a reverb in here, it's terrible, we can't hear you.
I would like to throw this year's scores out so far. We've missed almost 15% during the first semester. It's just as bad right now. It's tough to make up that time. And when we start extending the school year, if we don't push the testing back and people have already made plans, then we've got a big mess. So we're kind of in a lose-lose situation right now. And we're doing all we can to try to get school and just start, just trying to finish up the basics. It's tough. But yes, I mean, we can do trends. It's not, and that is readily available. And if you really want to see it quickly, you can go in video, you go to school quality profile and pull it up for every school. You can pull it up by division. You can do historic government city as well. That'll give you data back to 21, 22.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan.
And Ms. Scruggs, you can holler at me later and I'll give you whatever else you need.
Okay.
Administrative reports and recommendations, 25-251, activities update. This is for information.
Chair Littleton, members of the board, I'm going to assist with this update this evening because of the amount of activities in our building tonight. Some of our staff who might normally do that are actually covering some makeup athletic events right now from last week. So the board has expressed an interest that's been very appreciated in activities that the students can engage in that are co-curricular activities or that are extracurricular activities that might be outside of the athletic sphere. And the athletic program is really great and important, of course, But we also have a large number of activities. So at the board's request, we wanted to bring forward a brief update on that. So your memo that you have will provide you with some good information, certainly. And it talks about our career technical student organizations and some different examples of other organizations that are here at Allegheny High School in particular. Certainly includes our arts programs. But this evening, more excitingly, you have a real-life example of those programs here. So without further ado, I'd like to bring you two of the members of your speech and debate team, and they would like to do a brief presentation for you this evening. So go ahead. Thank you. This is Coach Clark.
Good evening, members of the board, members of the central office. My name is Shane Clark. I teach history here at the high school, and I've been the coach of the speech team, formerly the forensics team. They changed the name over this summer. Forensics sounds a lot cooler than speech, but people thought we dealt with dead bodies more so than literature. What the speech and debate team is a variety of speaking categories. Some of them are more speech-based, such as extemporaneous, where you study a topic around the world, Central America, American politics, the climate. You draw a topic out of the hat, you have 30 minutes to prepare a speech, and then something to give that speech, impromptu. Or you draw a topic out of the hat, make a speech, and give a speech all in 7 minutes. Or original oratory, where you spend your time crafting a 10-minute speech. To more acting-based or literature-based, such as poetry or prose. Tonight you will be seeing an example of duo humorous interpretation. It's not called acting, it's interpretation. Costumes are not allowed, props are not allowed, and the people who are performing are not allowed to look at each other or touch each other. They are bringing the piece to life without the use of props or costumes. And I'd like to present to everyone in the audience, Ella Hicks and Megan Powell, who will be presenting a piece on duo humorous.
the members of the board found that to be a very fun update.
Yes, yes.
We're trying
Thank you
to-
very much, ladies. That was great. Move on to 25-253, additions to the agenda, which there is no additions to the agenda. We'll move on to the next item. Excuse me. 25-254, public comment. Ms. Wilkes, do we have anyone signed up?
Bobby Buchanan.
Mr. Buchanan, I will remind you that we don't necessarily talk about individual students, and you'll have 3 minutes. We thank you very much for coming.
Everybody hear me all right? Good evening. My name is Bobby Buchanan. My wife is a teacher at Covington Middle School. She teaches English in her classroom is located on the 3rd floor of the building. She is currently about 8 months pregnant with our 2nd child. The way the school administration, school board administration, and the city of Covington handled the problem on January 31st is unacceptable. I FOIA'd the VDM investigation report and find it interesting that the statement provided by the school system failed to mention a few critical items. 6:47 p.m. January 31st, the unknown odor began around 10 a.m. this morning, causing symptoms. The teachers and students started complaining about the ammonia-type odor and not feeling well. Around 2 p.m., the kids were evacuated across the street to an armory. The fire department was on scene earlier, but they were unable to determine the odor as maintenance personnel had opened the windows and ventilated the school. February 1st, 12:14 a.m. VDM continued with the air monitoring throughout the school and found no area of concern. They requested the school remain locked down with limited access. This is important to my next point. In the final VDM hazardous materials incident report narrative, they arrived on scene and started to perform air monitoring tests and requested the school stay locked down with limited access. The reports state that all suited up with the required PPE and respiratory protection. Why did an employee's wife post on Facebook over that weekend that she was in the school with her children? Were they suited up with the proper PPE and respiratory protection when they entered the building? Could this have been an OSHA violation? Maybe, maybe not. But it is reckless behavior, and the public has noticed that and observed. This post was deleted by the original poster, but the internet is forever. When the alarm went off in the kitchen that VDM and the regional hazmat crew were using, looking for the CO on Sunday, February 2nd, when it got to the oven, when they turned the oven on, it registered 160 ppm. That's parts per million. A simple Google search will show you that 100 plus ppm causes severe symptoms such as confusion, intense headaches, brain damage, coma, and or death. This was not a minor exposure event, and the Virginia Department of Health, in my opinion, keeps gaslighting your employees as well as the public on how serious this issue was. The VDM incident report stated that on February 2nd, 2025, the school superintendent, Ms. Halterman, she had someone that knows everything about the building. When the VDM rep spoke to this person, he stated that the kitchen had gas stoves. The previous maintenance guy stated that the school did not have any gas appliances. So we've got maintenance personnel that don't know we have gas appliances. Ms. Halterman, during the last meeting at Covington Middle School, you specifically mentioned that you and your 12-month staff attend training on how to handle situations such as these. If that is so, why hasn't the school system shown the public that that is the truth? I think it would do good if you release those training records in an attempt to build back trust with the parents and children you serve, not to mention your employees. This response by the school system, as well as the Covington Fire Department and Covington Emergency Management, was lacking and is unacceptable. In closing, I think it's way past time to apologize to the community that you serve, as well as my wife. Her OB doesn't know what the impacts will be due to this exposure, and each of you have played a part over the last few weeks in that. Do better or let someone else try. Thank you.
Thank you. on to our next 25-255 school board members and superintendent comment. Mr. Woodson, if you'd like to start.
Just a couple follow, I don't know if anybody can hear me or not.
Can everyone hear Mr. Woodson?
Mics. A couple follow-up items from, I guess, last month. I mentioned perhaps having a student rep. I didn't see it on the agenda this month, but again, I think that's something we ought to consider from AHS. I think that'd be good for our board. The other thing I mentioned was the potential of having a local pastor open our meetings to replace our moments of silence. I'd like to see if we could get that on the agenda for consideration. And then also posting 10 commandments at the entranceway of each of our facilities in an effort to bring back the focus on character. I'd ask about the funding of the WIDA English language learners and where that funding actually comes from for that program. I didn't see anything about that. I'd still like to understand that if someone could talk me through it. And then board orientation, passed around a few days. I think the individuals that we didn't get to meet with were Mr. Reed, Mr. Conaway, Mr. Gleason, Dr. Furman, and Mr. Callahan. So hopefully we can work that out soon. Some new items from my perspective. I'd like to have a separate meeting of the board at some point. One, to talk through the board norms. Obviously, Bob and I weren't a part of the development of those. I think probably we need to revisit that as a board. And the other thing is, I was asked a question today about fire escapes at the middle school and are they working properly. So I'd like to kind of get that on the record for someone to address. And you know, we had a bit of an update at the opening of the meeting around the situation that happened at CMS. I almost feel like we ought to have a weekly meeting to stay on top of that and get weekly updates as a group until we understand the full depth of the situation. So that's my comments.
Mr. Woodson. Mr. Olmstead.
Good evening. It's amazing to me. When I go to church, everybody sits in the back. Now everybody sits on the sides. It's kind of the same thing, I guess. I'm disappointed that we have an auditorium that holds a couple hundred people. There's very few people here. Well, what's happened over the past month, if you've lived in this county and you're not upset about it and want to talk about it, I'd start coming to the meetings. Life is simple in my world. I'd like to thank the kids that are involved in the spelling bee. I had a rule when I was in school, I was the first one out of the spelling bee, even if I could spell the word, because I didn't want to stand there and be embarrassed, because it was going to happen. A lot of respect for people that can do good work and try things. I'd also like to thank every parent that's involved in the situation we are now, that puts their kids on the Chromebook so they can attend classes. Talking to a couple of people, the attendance seems to be better than it's been in a while because kids are getting on the Chromebook and doing the work. It's a serious situation that we have in Covington or in Allegheny County. I don't know the answer. I listen to a lot of people, I ask a lot of questions, I get taken on a tour of the county but never get the answers. I know the county quite well, I don't need a tour. I like the answers. The parents that call me, as of today and over the past month, I'm averaging 31 phone calls a day from people griping. I think my information network is better than school systems because I know things that they don't know. The people up here need your support for what you want to do. And the last person that spoke to us, I know him and his wife. I talked with her. I pray that nothing's wrong with her or the baby. That would literally break my heart. We have to protect the teachers that protect our kids. Applaud goes out to me, to every teacher that goes on the Chromebooks and works with the kids who do their job. The cafeteria people who made food for the kids so people can come and pick it up so they can eat when we're not in school. We're taking care of our kids. We have to continue to do it. We have to continue to do it. And I'll be honest with you, I'd hate to be an administrator in this day and age with the stuff that they have to deal with. I think it's an absolute nightmare. And the worst thing I think we deal with, Mr. Callahan presented to us SOL scores. They don't look good. Lord, you wouldn't expect them to look good if you're not in school. We have to help our kids get better. But the things that I like, the guy that spoke to us with the creativity in the math program, I absolutely love that. Make math fun. Math is easy, but make fun it's easier and enjoyable. Community, we need your input to help take care of these problems. Please help us. Get your friends and show up and sit out in the audience. You can't talk back to us, we can't talk to you. But please be here so that we know you care. Because I know the people up here do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Umstead. Mr. Harris.
Thank you. Chairman Littleton. First and foremost, I would like to thank everybody for being here tonight. The gentleman that spoke, and I'm sorry I did not catch your name, but I appreciate your passion, particularly for your family. I share that passion because part of my family's in that building as well. So I think I can speak for everybody up here on the stage in saying that their safety, both of staff and students, is foremost on our mind. And that's part of the reason why we're taking the time to do what we're doing to go through another evaluation of that school, Covington Middle, is out of an abundance of caution. So I certainly do appreciate the sentiments, and I appreciate you being here tonight. I would also like to thank Mrs. Halterman, Ms. Lee Johnson, all of the administration, both the administration at Covington Middle School, but then other parts of our administrative team, for all kind of pitching in, doing the best they could, even under very difficult circumstances. And that's something that I think until you have been in a situation where there are lots of upset people, and rightfully so, handling the information that those people want to know and getting it out to them as fast as they want it is virtually impossible. But we always try to do our best with that, but our number one goal in any of those types of scenarios is the safety and security of our students and our staff. And unfortunately, information is secondary or even tertiary to that in some cases. And I know how frustrating that can be. At our last meeting, I probably stumbled through it and didn't say it quite as well as I should have, but as a school board member, the advantage that I have is that I know the heart, to Mr. Umstead's point, I know the heart of the people on the board, I know the heart of the people in the schools. And when an event happens, whatever it may be, it concerns me as a father and a board member. But I also have an inherent level of trust in the people that are employed in this division. And I really want to underline, italicize, and boldface print that. If anyone in the public thinks that we have been casual about this, that is not the case. But we're doing what we have to do, which is work through our staff, trust the people that work here and work with our children. That's what they're here to do, and again, their first priority is safety of all the staff and students. So thank you very much. To Mr. Brigham, I appreciate very much the passion and dedication that he showed. It just flowed from the podium there. I also share, I guess, a sentimentality for particularly math, which was never my strong suit. Whenever we can make those math classes practical, that's where I think the rubber really meets the road in education. he was spot on in what he said. So much of what we do is teaching, or so much of what our teachers do is teaching to a standard. And that has to be done. We need to measure progress, and that's the only way I think we've come up with to do that. But it is always nice when we can take those, even in some cases more advanced concepts, and apply it so that students can actually get some real world usage out of it. So I really enjoyed Mr. Brigham's presentation, and I hope he was taken aback by what his students said about him, because I think, again, that reflected the genuineness that he carries into the classroom. So well done, Mr. Brigham. I would say to Miss Hicks and Miss Powell, as the only licensed Virginia film director on this stage right now, I certainly support the change away from forensics. I understand where that can cause confusion, so speech and debate is a much better name for that organization. And their presentation tonight, as much as I like to think I can talk, I could not do what they just did. So bravo to them as well. Last but certainly not least, to Mr. Woodson's point before and others, again, something else that I said at the last meeting, well-run organizations always endeavor to have an after-action report, internal review. It can go by 100 different names. But anytime you have an event like we had at Covington Middle School, one of the first things that everybody wants to know is what's the information, what caused that to happen the way that it did. Unfortunately, there has to be some time between the event itself and when the investigation, if you want to call it that, begins. And of course, the most important part of that is when it's finalized and we know what it says. We deserve information. That much is absolutely true, but more so than that, we deserve accurate information. And that's not just for the 7 of us here. That's for everybody in this community. And the accuracy of that information, to ensure it, does take time. There is no way that I know to beat that. So the only thing that I would ask from the public at large, the entire community, is the grace to give us time to make sure we know what we did wrong. And hopefully we find out some things that we did well. That's what every well-run organization I have ever been part of or observed does. And that's what we will do in this particular case. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. Ms. Brooks-Duncan.
Taking this chronologically, I wanted to congratulate all the spelling bee winners. It was never my forte, so I admire that. Science and data sounds like a very interesting class, and I really appreciate the fervor with which Mr. Brigham relates to his students, and it was interesting hearing from them, and especially hearing from his student as to what it meant to her. Mr. Clark, have they left? Has done a wonderful job, but he had a lot to work with because I've been following Megan and Ella through their careers, their lives growing up, and we have a lot of talent, and they entertained me tonight, and I appreciated it. I also appreciate all of the community people, parents that have reached out to me about the problem at CMS. I've tried to express at the last meeting, and I'll do it again tonight, that we are very sorry and concerned that this has caused illness amongst the students or the teachers, the symptoms, and we don't take that, we don't brush that off. The fact that people are feeling unwell is very concerning to me. I'll say again that we hear and absorb your concerns and want to try to reassure you that we share a commitment to getting to the bottom of this. That the health and safety of our students is our priority in the situation. Then right behind their health and safety is their continued education so that they can continue to learn while we're figuring all this out. Mr. Buchanan, I can't account for Facebook posts and would certainly never try why someone posted something I can't, certainly wouldn't try to explain Facebook to anyone, but I hear your concern. And I understand your passion, because I can tell you that I know that if it were my children, I would have the exact same responses that you would. And I don't know, I think I would probably struggle with patience and in waiting out the process. People that know me would say, I guarantee you, you'd be right in there as well. It's interesting to be on this side of it because I get to see the process and what we have to go through. So I too wanted to know immediately what was going on. I do understand that we don't want to be in haste to get the studies done, because we want the studies to be done thoroughly enough that we don't just know what it was not, but that we find out exactly what it was. So I just want to say that once all this work is done and the reports come to us, I want us all to work together, not only to find a solution to this problem, but to find a way to move forward from here with the students as our main priority. But to find a way to heal from this and then continue forward and be the community that we want to be. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Groves. Ms. Morgan.
Thank you to everyone who came out this evening. First, let me apologize. I missed the February 3rd meeting where the public was first addressed. The norovirus does not discriminate, and it hit me and my household. So first and foremost, I want to apologize for the recent events at CMS and say that I'm sorry it happened. I won't try to offer any excuses. There's no excuse that I can offer. None that should be offered, none that should be accepted. Mr. Buchanan, thank you for coming and speaking to us tonight. I'm a parent too. I'm a parent of 2 teachers in this system, and although they're not in this building, there is nothing more precious in this world to me than my children and my grandchild. So I hear you, I understand your concern. As I shared with the numerous people who have called, texted, emailed, reached out in a variety of ways and continue to do so, I thank them for reaching out to me, sharing their heart, sharing their fears, sharing their anxiety. I can't imagine the stress, the anxiety, the fear it's caused for the parents, the children, the staff, and the staff's families. And again, there's nothing we can say more other than we're sorry. But with that said, we do have to learn from this event and move forward, and that's exactly what we're doing. And I know we're all very impatient. I know there's members of this board impatient, but there are no more vulnerable people in the world than our children, than maybe the elderly. They're the 2 most vulnerable populations we have. This board is in the business of children. So we as a board, even though that building was cleared, we know that we have to do everything in our power to determine if that is going to be where our children continue to learn. And we have to feel good about it, and our faculty has to feel good about it, and our students have to feel good about it. So no, I don't want to rush this. I understand virtual is not ideal. We learned a lot through COVID that's hopefully making this process a little bit easier on everyone. So we had a good practice run, and I want that company to go through there thoroughly, factually, and make sure that is where our student population is. I want to thank everyone, the parents, the staff, the school board administration, everybody up here has nothing but concern and desire to do what is best for our children and their safety, and our staff as well. There are people in the board and the school board office that have family and children in that building, and I can sit here tonight and tell you that no one would knowingly and willingly put their children in that building with us. With that said, I continue to want you to reach out to me if you have questions, concerns, if you just want to talk to a school board member. Please let me know. I'm happy to listen to you. I thank the ones that have. We don't know, like Mr. Umstead said, we don't know how to help you or what you need if you're not here and you're not talking to us, so keep those lines of communication open. I want to also thank the ones that did come here tonight and continue to encourage you to do so, and then transition into the spelling bee winners and congratulate them. And the instructional spotlight, I agree with my peers tonight that was fantastic to hear from that student and Mr. Brigham and what they're doing in that class. And you know, regardless of where your post-high school path takes you, whether it's to college or straight into the workforce, there's valuable things to be learned in that class, because I've always said there's nothing magical that happens when you wake up on your 18th birthday and you suddenly know how to be an adult. I'm still learning myself how to be an adult. I don't know about you all, but I learn every day. So that's exciting to hear that that's a class. I wish that was around when I was in high school, because that would have been a great one to take that I think would have served me well throughout my life. The speech and debate team, that was a lovely performance. We got to see them at a school board education meeting that we held last spring, I believe, down at the Masonic, and they did a fantastic job then, and they did a fantastic job tonight. So thank you, ladies, for presenting to us. And I believe that is all I have for you all tonight. So you want me to...
Mr. Franson, he's unfortunately down with COVID. He has joined us remotely. Mr. Franson, I don't want to put you on the spotlight, but if there's anything you'd like to say, we'll be happy to share, but we understand that you're under the weather.
I figured you'd rather me be here than there and share it with you. It hasn't been a very fun week, but anyway, I got one more day before the kid is done. I want to congratulate the spelling bee winners. I couldn't spell them for nothing. Even my spell check looks at me and laughs sometimes. So it just does my heart good to see that. And the instructional spotlight, so every month we come to see one of those things. It's something different, something more exciting about for our kids. The debate and speech team did an excellent job. And I congratulate them on that, because it's not always easy to get up there and do that, especially with the Buchanan. I hear you, sir. I too just heartbroken about this situation, but please give us grace and patience so we can get this studies done, so we'll all know what happened. And you can take my word that whatever it comes up with, we will share it. We're not going to sweep nothing on the road, because the teachers, the staff, and the kids are priority for me, to make sure everybody's safe and to make sure that everybody learns. And you got to have a good place to do that. And I want to thank all the staff, the administrators, the teachers, assistants, cafeteria, bus drivers, maintenance, everybody. You just have to understand how hard they work and how much they care. And you know that they're not doing this for the money. That it's all because they love these kids, and this is a passion. And I thank you for that. And I just pray for our school system. Pray God will guide us, direct us, give us grace, so that we can be more forgiving if we've made mistakes, where we can be just so we can get together and be a better system. That's it. It's just hard to see what we went through. And some people have not been very nice about stuff. And then there's a lot of them who have been. But just so you know that we are trying the best we can do. And as soon as we get the information out, I am sure it'll be released. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Superintendent Halterman.
again, it's a good opportunity to be addressing this group again this evening, and I want to kind of continue to reiterate a couple of things that we've heard already this evening, but want to make sure that we're doing a good job making sure all parties are aware. We really appreciate questions, comments, concerns that are sent to that AHPS info email address, and that's really helpful. So our board is helping us know what is coming to them directly to that end, and that's very helpful. You can also use this email address. You can also call our office, and that information is being used to help us determine when we have an opportunity to provide a communication update, what information that update contains, because it's helping us know what people are most asking questions about, are most needing help with. And that is really helpful to us. So again, that email address is AHPS, like Allegheny Highlands Public Schools, info, I-N-F-O, at ahps.k12.va.us. That's our usual email signature. And that's readily available on our website and our other communications. You can also call the office with that, questions or concerns about strike. And we like to make sure we have that information that's helping us so much determine what is needed on our website. So that is a really great way for us to get that feedback, and our board members are of course providing that feedback to us as well. So we really appreciate their hard work in this situation with that. That is very important. And obviously I had opportunity to offer you words of thanks and those kinds of things at the beginning, but I want to continue to reiterate how appreciative we are of the understanding we've been shown in this situation and the way people are pulling together to help our students out and help our staff out. I too don't want to miss the opportunity to say thank you and congratulations to a variety of students and staff who assisted us with our meeting tonight. We want to make sure we're doing a good job for you in continuing regular operations as well, even though there's obviously a lot of resources being focused on CMS at this time. So I don't want to minimize that in any way, but I also want to make sure that everyone realizes, and I hope the chairman doesn't mind me sharing this, that the school board continues to do its day-to-day work as well. And this administration and the teachers and the staff continue to do their day-to-day work. And we're just so happy people are able to do that work as well as we move through this situation to make sure that all of our students have the resources they need. We would like to go ahead and echo, or I would like to go ahead and echo, a word of congratulations in particular for the spelling bee winners. I'm fortunate to be a good student. Spelling out loud is not a skill that I have, so I always am really impressed with those students. We want to thank all of our speech and debate participants. They do a variety of competitions, and tonight was a great example, and we appreciate that opportunity to bring forward an activities program update. If you're regularly following the board meetings, you know that we've mentioned some things about activities recently in several meetings, and we've been trying to bring more information forward about those. So hopefully that was helpful. We want to say thank you in particular to everyone who is assisting anyone who happens to be learning virtually at this time, whether they are student associated with CMS and our teachers preparing great resources for them, families helping to make sure they log on, all of those kind of things, or other students that might be in that situation because of inclement weather. That is really helpful to everyone. We really appreciate the support there. And I'm just double checking my list here. I wanted to also make sure that we said thank you on the data science presentation. That's a relatively new class. I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, that class has only been in existence in Virginia for a few years, and we've been really fortunate to have it in our local schools for that duration. So it's a really amazing opportunity for our kiddos, and we really appreciate that. I hope I haven't left anything out. There's a risk that I have, but the big word I want to bring forward again is just continued thanks for the cooperation and help and patience, because it's all important. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Halterman. I reckon I'll sound like a broken record and reiterate what all other board members have said, and thank everybody for coming. Thanks to all the teachers, administrators, bus drivers, maintenance workers, paraprofessionals. I'm sure I'll forget some of the cafeteria workers. It takes everybody, it takes the village to make it work. And we're very fortunate that we have a very good village that everyone wants to help everybody else. And that makes my heart very happy to be able to call this place home and to know that we love for our neighbors. I also want to reiterate what Mr. Woodson said about a student rep on the board. I too would really like to see that. When I first got on the Allegheny board back in 2019, we had a student rep, and I thought it was great. I know that's something that I did talk to Superintendent Halterman about, and I think most board members here will all definitely be for it. It's just, unfortunately, right now we got a lot of irons in the pan, and we got to try to focus on the irons that are the hottest at the moment. And not that we're not focusing on other things as well, but in due time, I do see that we'll definitely have a student rep on this board, and that's one thing I do look forward to seeing. I want to thank Mr. Brigham and the kids for his student for coming up and talking. That's great that we're learning that way. And I really appreciate people like him that, and I feel that all of our teachers are here because that's what they love to do, just like Mr. Brigham. It's that one child that, that makes a difference in their life, and you make a difference in that child's life. And that's a great accomplishment. I mean, that's something to be very proud of. And I know my family's full of educators, and I mean, that's what they always loved about educating is that you could change a child's life for the good. And that's always great. Thank you for all you do for that. The man came for public comment. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. I didn't write it down. I apologize, but we thank you very much for coming. Bobby Buchanan, thank you very much for coming. Yes, I'm praying for your wife and your child. And, I have a child in the system, not in that building. But, our children's safety and our family safety is always the number one. That's one reason why this is taking a while, because we want to be extremely thorough, make sure everything is done correctly, our I's are dotted and T's are crossed, because we don't want to miss anything. Because, our safety is nothing to be played with, and we always want the best for all of our people. Congratulations, Spelling Bee champs. And I also want to thank Ms. Willis and Mr. Vaughn. This week is Clerk's Week. Appreciate all they do for us. I don't know if we can do it without you, Carrie. We appreciate you. I also, too, want to remind people to keep Assistant Principal Cochran's family in your thoughts and prayers. If you didn't hear, we lost an administrator here inside the high school building. And it was very unexpected, somewhat, and it's tragic. I don't have words for it. I mean, it's, no one's ever ready to lose anybody. But, as I said, he was a principal here, assistant principal in this building at the high school. And he's going to be very well missed by the students and his co-workers. And just keep him and his family in your prayers. And that's all I have. But thank everybody for coming. So now we're going to move on to closed session 25-256 Code of Virginia 2.2-3711.A.1 Personnel Matters, Actual and Potential Appointments, Assignments, Resignation, Terminations, and Salaries 2.2-3711